I remember a meeting where we analyzed a troublesome issue, explored our interests, discussed factors that might constrain possible solutions, and batted around some potential options. Everything according to the IBA process. I volunteered to follow up to implement our preferred solution. And I did. At the next meeting, I was taken to task for moving too quickly. One colleague said that he had never agreed to the solution. I checked. He was in the meeting. I thought he said it sounded okay to him. But I had forgotten one important precept of IBA. No commitment unless commitment is expressed. I hadn't made sure there was closure. Ugh! So that you don't make the same mistake I did, let's talk about how to confirm closure, starting with where closure is likely to occur in our IBA process, some common decision-making methods that are used to determine closure, and then why we recommend working toward consensus. You'll get another video on how to increase the likelihood that you can reach consensus and the importance of developing an action plan to aid in implementation. But for now, we'll start with where is closure likely to occur in the IBA process? The short answer is everywhere. Obvious places are in the commit portion of the getting together circle and the BATNA section of the getting ready circle. But closure may be necessary to confirm agreement and understanding of various aspects of the issues, interests, constraints, etc. You may need to use closure techniques to make sure that everyone is ready to move on to the next stage. But we'll focus on closure as the process by which you select a creative solution from among all of the possibilities, meaning the ends of both circles, evaluating alternatives and selecting the BATNA in the getting ready stage, and evaluating options and committing in the getting together stage. When the group is generating alternatives and options, you should be following the brainstorming rule of not allowing evaluation. Everything goes up on the list. That means you will end up with a lot of options, some that are not feasible, hard to explain, silly, and some that are downright unethical or illegal. This long list needs to be narrowed down, a process called winnowing. The term is borrowed from farming, where you separate the wheat from the chaff. Each option is reviewed, clarified, adjusted, evaluated, and some may be combined as you reduce the list to a more manageable number. It would be nice if all decisions could be unanimous. Take a vote, and everybody is 100% in favor of the decision. There are no differing options. While unanimity does occur, it is rare, and oftentimes it's an illusion. Someone doesn't want to rock the boat, so doesn't say anything. Some common decision-making methods you have probably tried are calling for a vote. Technically, unanimity goes here. It would make life easier. But decisions are more often made by a simple majority vote, 50% plus 1, where the majority wins and the minority concede. Sometimes that threshold is raised to something like 2/3 or a supermajority. And sometimes the decision is made by plurality, where the option with the highest number of votes is selected, even if it doesn't reach a 50% majority. Compromise, the give and take process, where both sides make concessions on issues that are important to them. Force the issue, or competitive bargaining, where the goal is to win at all costs. Random chance, the outcome is decided by a flip of a coin or a roll of the dice, or even pulling numbers out of a hat. And giving a third party the authority to decide for you. Personally, I don't find any of these very satisfying, especially if I'm in the minority, and many of these limit discussion. Calling for a majority vote, especially early in a conversation, often means we don't get a chance to hear alternative views or ideas that could better inform our decisions, and it reduces the likelihood that a solution meets multiple interests. Many of us choose compromise because that seems to be the fairest. Everyone gives up something important, right? All of these methods have their place. They are often quick, easy to implement, and well known. They work especially well when the decision or the relationship isn't especially important, or if time is an issue. But wouldn't it be nice if we could all get what's important to us? For that, we suggest searching for consensus, as defined by William Alkey, credited with developing the Theory Z management style. In his words, everyone in the group supports, agrees to, or can live with a particular decision. In the end, everyone can say, I believe you understand my point of view. I believe I understand your point of view. Whether or not I prefer this decision above all others, I will support it because it was reached fairly and openly. Perhaps just as important as knowing what consensus is knowing what it is not. It is not a unanimous vote or a majority vote, and there is no guarantee that everyone is totally satisfied. And unfortunately, consensus takes a much longer time to reach than majority decision or compromise. However, we feel the benefits from consensus outweigh these disadvantages. Research has consistently shown that the quality of the decision is likely to be better. And remember the end of Aoki's quote? Whether or not I prefer this decision above all others, I will support it because it was reached fairly and openly. Because everyone was involved in the discussion and agreed to the process, buy-in or level of support for the decision is likely to be greater than one reached by compromise, and definitely better than competition. That leads us to the third benefit. The efficiency of implementation of a decision is likely to be greater. When we have a say in the decision, especially if we agree to implementation, the work is more likely to be done. While we focused on closure in the IBA process, I'm sure you can think of times you can and have used some of these common decision-making processes in your personal and professional life. Again, all of these have their place, and all can be used on the way to developing consensus. We hope you also understand why we recommend consensus as the goal of your decision-making when an issue or relationship is important to you. The next video on working to achieve consensus is coming right up. In the meantime, think about times in your life you might have benefited from trying to achieve consensus rather than relying on the old tried and true decision-making methods.